everyone, welcome back to my channel. So the setup might be a little bit different. I'm trying to rearrange this room. I don't know how much of that I'm actually filming because I've done already half of it, but I might be posting an organization video at some point. I still want to organize my makeup. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. But anyway, that is kind of why things look a little bit different. I've moved my desk and whatnot. But you're still here and it's still relatively the same, right? Let's see. We'll see if it changes over the course of the next few weeks. But I thought it'd be really fun to do sort of a mid-year recap of my makeup journey this year. Now, I know that we have passed the midway point. I should have posted this the beginning of July. But, you know, life has been busy and I've still wanted to do this for several weeks. I just haven't been able to. So right now I actually have got all of the list together. I put this list together and I was inspired by other videos, inspired by other like groups of categories on YouTube, not even like makeup related. A lot of people do like mid-year wrap-ups and things like that, and I just thought, let's do a mid-year wrap-up. Let's talk about statistics or maybe just numbers in general. This is not a makeup inventory. I still need to film that, but this is more like, you know, where am I this year? And I figured I would do this every single like mid-year. So in a year's time, if I'm still doing this channel and everything, then I will do a catch up and then I can compare to last year. I've compared a few things to like overall stats and stuff, but because I didn't do anything like this last year, there's less to compare, but you'll understand like when I get into it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about, and this is going to be super quick because I already did a whole video on this, is the number of eyeshadow pans that I've hit this year so far. The number is 32. I'm not including anything else past the point when I told you it was 32. It actually is a little bit higher than this at this point today, but as of like the first half of the year, it was at 32. So if you want to go check out all of the pans that I hit this year and how many uses it took me to hit that pan, I do have a video already and I'll try to remember to link it. I'm not very good at linking videos and things like that, but you can find it on my channel. I posted it just a week ago, so hopefully you can find that. But yeah, 32 eyeshadow pans. The next prompt that I've made is other makeup pans that I have hit. Now, I haven't been tracking this as well as eyeshadow pans. I have obviously in my notebook what I've been tracking. I kind of looked at my beauty bank and things like that, and obviously all the products that I have in my collection. I'm gonna say it's 8. It might be more than that, but I just went in to look all of my cheek, you know, palettes and my blush, my, you know, bronzers, my highlighters and whatnot, my powders, and I think it's 8. Now, none of this wouldn't include like liquid or anything like that. There are creams in here in terms of like, if it's not a liquid, but it's actually a cream-based item, but I'm not including like items I finished or anything like that because that's its own separate prompt. So this is just literally hitting pan, but on something that is not an eyeshadow, and it's really just 8, which honestly I think is a good number because those items are harder to hit pan on, I would say, when you're trying to hit pan on a blush and, you know, a bronzer. Those are some hefty items. And even like pressed powder and things like that, although I think pressed powder is a little bit easier because it just seems to go faster. But I've hit pan in bronzer, blush, pressed powder, and yeah, I haven't got the whole list of everything I've hit pan on, but I've also hit pan on a cream blush and a cream highlighter and a cream bronzer. So, you know, a whole mix of things. It's not all just one item, and then a few other things that I just can't remember. But I did remember when I put this list together, so hopefully, you know, it all is right. It might be off by a couple like numbers because I might have just forget to include something, but I definitely counted 8 so far. Okay, so let's get into like more of the eyeshadow because I think this is kind of fun. So let's start with my most used eyeshadow this year in terms of like the actual eyeshadow name from which palette. So my most used eyeshadow is from the Honey ColourPop palette, and I used this 32 times this year. That's the most, more than I've used on any other eyeshadow, and it is the shade Buzzkill, which I did hit pan on, and this was in my Project Level Up project, and there's a reason why I just carried on going until I hit pan, because I was literally on a mission to hit pan in this shade. It's not a shade that I would say that I particularly love. It's like a dirty, grungy, yucky, yellowy green shade. It's like, it kind of reminds me of a swampy color. I don't know, it's not something that I gravitate towards, but it is a nice shade if you want that grungy, greeny, yellow look. It's not all that bad, it's just not something that I would expect to be a shade that I use all the time, but because it was in that project, I did use it all the time. So that's my most used eyeshadow. My most used eyeshadow in total in my whole collection, because I have been tracking this for a good 2.5 years now, is actually from the Jackie Aina palette, which I thought was really surprising, but it's basically how many times I've literally dipped into that shadow, and it's not, you know, I used the shadow once one day, but I dipped in 5 times, I count it 5 times. No, I just counted that one time. So those 32 uses on Buzzkill was 32 different days. And then the palette that I've used the most in my whole collection is the ginger shade. Let me just get the number again. I've used it 44 times. And again, this was to hit pan. It took me so long to hit pan in this shade over here. It's not one of my favorite shades in the world either, and you can see as soon as I hit pan I stopped using it. I was like, I'm done. Why does everyone say it's so easy to hit pan on these shades? It is not. But yeah, when you think about it, 44 times or whatever it was, it's not a huge amount, but that's like in total. So for me, that kind of tells me, okay, so, you know, I kind of split my time pretty well between all of the shades in my collection, or at least I try to do a no pan left behind. I obviously do pan nose eyeshadows, project level up, and that's where my numbers are bumping up quite high. And I also started to do a pan that palette this year, which has altered my numbers quite a bit as well, as you can imagine. So I think it's really interesting that in total, like, I've only used that shade 44 times. That's the most amount of times I've ever used a shade in my collection, and then this year 32 on the Buzzkill. So I don't know, I thought that was interesting. Okay, so most used eyeshadow color this year. So the way that I've done my spreadsheet, and I might do a little clip for you so you can see it, because I did kind of show it in my vlog video, but not many people watched that, which I kind of understand. It was like right at the end of the video. Or maybe I didn't show it, I showed my calendar instead. Actually, I don't think I showed it, but I'll do a little clip just so you kind of see what I do. It's nothing like amazing, and I'm sure people out there do better spreadsheets than me, but I honestly just started building it and played around with it, and I do little colors and everything like that. Oh crap, this just came off. Okay, well that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to rearrange it. And so I have all of the shades like split out by color, so I can pivot the data. And if you're not sure what I mean, I can basically just pull all the information together in a spreadsheet. And I use Excel, so on Excel you can do something called a pivot table. Does all the work for you, and it told me which shade in my collection I have used the most this year. And actually the shade I've used the most is orange, which doesn't really surprise me because I did start working on my e.l.f. Retro Paradise palette this year, and it has a few oranges in it. And I think there were some other shades maybe in my pan nose eyeshadows at the beginning of the year where I had some orange shades, and it's kind of a reason why I basically redid my whole pan nose eyeshadows collection, like selection, a few months ago, because I just had too many oranges in there and I just was fed up with orange. So it kind of makes sense, but I have used 124 oranges this year. Is that a bit odd? That is like crazy. Like that's like the amount of times I've dipped into an orange. So that's my most used shadow so far this year. My most used shadow in total, so that would be including this year, like, and then from like 2.5 years ago when I first started my spreadsheet, is actually nude. So any shade that is a nude shade, or at least I qualify it as a nude shade, because I noticed in my spreadsheet sometimes if it's like more of a nudie shade, I might have marked it as orange by mistake. So there is user error in this. So, but my nude shade total is 456 uses. That is crazy. That's how many times I have like gone into a nude shade. That's like usage. That's crazy. I didn't think it was going to be that high either, so that is a bit mad. Okay, and then let's go into my least used eyeshadow color this year. So again, I kind of did the same thing, but I did the opposite. So the least used shade I have used this year is gray, and I've only gone into it once. I don't know which gray shade it is. I can't even think about what it is. I can probably have a look obviously on my computer, but I do not know what that is. Obviously, I do not wear a lot of gray. It makes sense. I also don't have a lot of gray eyeshadow, so that also makes sense. But I thought that was interesting. And then my least used eyeshadow color in total is black, and I've only used like 18 times. 18 times. This is like a crazy number. That seems ridiculously low for me. 18 times in like 2.5 years. That is crazy. Do you not think? But it kind of makes sense because I do not use black. I don't like going into black. So if I do end up going into a black, that's like a big deal. 18 times. I'm pretty shocked. I mean, I did go over the numbers and I did double check this and it's all right. So yeah, that's just a little bit strange. Okay, moving on, we've got this year's most shades with pan. So I thought this one would be a fun one too, because obviously I know the amount of pans I've hit this year, but what are like the actual colors that I'm hitting most on? And there's actually a tie. It's yellow and purple, which I kind of have on today. Yeah, I've used them both 5 times in terms of hitting pan. I've hit pan in 5 yellows and 5 purples, and then all my other pans have been in other colors. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I didn't look between matte and shimmer because that's the one thing that I don't have in my spreadsheet, which I've been wanting to do, but I know the mammoth task that it would be, and it would take me a long time to add all that in, and I just haven't got the time or haven't got around to doing that. So maybe next year I will have that in the spreadsheet and I will be able to track it, because I'm sure it's mostly shimmer versus matte. But anyway, I thought that was interesting that it was yellow and purple. Those are 2 shades that I do like to pair together as well. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, most of the yellows is from my Honey palette. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of helped it like sway it. And the purple, not really sure where the purple came from because I don't actually do a lot of purple looks. So that one is interesting. Anyway, so the previous color with the most pans, so this is up until the this year, right? So up until the end of 2022, I wanted to see why does this keep falling? What is going on? Is the clasp, whatever. I wanted to see which color I had hit pans in the most up until the end of 2022. And it was green with only 9 pans, which I thought was it's a very low number, but that doesn't include any pans this year, and I have been panning a lot more this year than last year. I looked at my numbers last year, and by mid-year, I had hit 19 pans, and that was including face palettes and whatever else. It wasn't just eyeshadow pans. So my eyeshadow pans was much lower last year versus this year where it's 32. So it kind of makes sense. But yeah, green was the color that I hit the most up until the end of last year. And this year it's yellows and purples. So we'll see. I mean, I'm interested to see how the next 6 months is going to change the data, if it does change it at all, if we see another color pop up, because I do tend to go into mauves and pinks and all of that, like cooler tone colors, obviously towards, you know, like the winter time and like Christmas time. I get into my reds. This is also about shades with pans. So it also kind of, you know, it's not necessarily the shades that I used the most during that year, it's just the ones that I've hit the most pans in. Next up, we've got most used palette this year. So I don't think this is gonna come as a surprise, but my most used palette this year is my Pan That palette, the Retro Paradise palette from e.l.f. I have used this a total of 118 times. So that's 118 days that I have dipped into this palette, and that's not even really including July. That's like up until June. There's 118 days. Does that make sense? Are there 108? I mean, that would make sense. Yeah, 90 days and 3 months. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I was just wondering if that was a crazy number. So that is still a crazy number. I mean, that's like almost every single week. Okay, and then my second most, because I thought it'd be interesting to see how far away. So that one was 118 uses. My second most used palette is of course the Honey from ColourPop, which is a no surprise. I've used this 83 times this year so far, which is crazy amount of times, especially for a palette that is not even my favorite palette. I mean, this one makes, oh shoot, why do I always drop eyeshadow while I'm filming? It's crazy. There's no casualties, so it's all fine. But yeah, anyway, this kind of makes sense because I obviously had it as my pan that palette, and I still have it as my pan that palette, so that use is just going to go up and up and up for the year. This one is just a crazy amount. It took me so long to, and I had it in my project level up, like I said, and it was level 3, so I had to hit 3 pans, and that's why it took so long. I think I had it in the project like 4 months. It was just crazy. Anyway, and then my most used palette in total in my whole collection is the Retro Paradise palette. This is I've used this 208 times in total, so you can see that my usage on this was actually very low before I rolled it in as my Pan That palette. So prior to this year, and also the Aha Honey, actually I didn't even check to see which one it was, but that would have been interesting to see which palette it was up until this year, because obviously this year has changed all of my numbers. But yeah, this is my most used palette in total. Makes sense. My first time doing a Pan That palette, and I've used it 208 times. Now, that does not obviously include like when I first got this, because when I first got this, it was 2020, summer 2020, and I was not tracking my eyeshadow usage until 2021. So I had this for a good maybe 6-8 months before I started actually tracking all of the uses in all of my palettes. So there's definitely more use on this. It's just I have it only as 208 uses. And then I thought it'd be interesting to talk about my second most used palette in total, and it actually is my Huda Beauty Desert Dusk. I do feel like I talk about this an awful lot, and I did have it in my, I've had it in my Zodiac Panel for quite a while last year when I was trying to hit 2 pans, and of course it is my Project Level Up palette right at the moment for level 4. So this one I have used 183 times in total, and I do think that is actually in total, because by the time I bought this palette I had that spreadsheet, so I do think every time I have used this palette I have been tracking it, so I do think that is a true figure, and it's kind of interesting. It is definitely one of my favorite Huda Beauty palettes that I have. I just think it's very versatile, it's fun to use. Unfortunately the shades are just going bad, and that's why I'm using it so much before I end up decluttering it. And then I've got most used makeup item this year, which is non-eyeshadow, because I'm talking a lot about eyeshadow at the moment. And this one, where is it? I had everything in front of me, and then I did my makeup and I put everything away. It is my Technique Shimmer Bronzer, which didn't surprise me. I thought, oh gosh, how am I going to figure this out? But I literally just went through my panning notebook, and this was obviously the one item that I've used the most, because I'm using it since January, and my use on it has been, you know, pretty high. So I have used this a total of 81 times this year so far. I actually rolled it into my project pan, and I did not have a pan, and now it looks like this. So super excited. I'm going to be using this until the end of the year, so hopefully I can get it done, and we'll just see what my uses is in total for that. But yeah, I thought that was really kind of fun. I did think it might have been my Rimmel London pressed powder, but that one was only in like the 50s. So okay, let's talk about empties and declutters. This one's a little bit iffy for me. So in terms of empties, I have tracked 9 empties in terms of makeup empties. This doesn't include anything that is non-makeup. That to me does sound a little low, but I'm actually really pleased with it. I think it's a good number, because I think makeup items are very, very hard to finish. And I know some of them were primers that I was trying to get through, and I think maybe, I'm just trying to think, what else did I finish that wasn't a primer this year? I mean, foundation I think I also finished. I have them all in my beauty banks of all the items that I've finished, so if you just want to go check them out, you can. But the way I track all of my empties in my beauty banks, I put it in another spreadsheet, and so I literally could see I've got 9 empties so far for the year. Hopefully that's accurate, and I don't include decluttered items, so that should definitely be accurate. In terms of total makeup purchases, I have purchased 23 items this year so far. That includes eyeshadow and everything in between. Now normally with my beauty bank, my eyeshadow is like 2 points, so I had to like do a little bit of investigation, because I couldn't actually look at my spreadsheet because it was a lot higher than 23 because of all the eyeshadow that I've purchased this year. the number wasn't accurate. So I had to go back and look at all of my beauty bank videos, and yeah, the number is 23. A lot of that is eyeshadow. I did buy quite a nice bundle from Gloss Gods and Menagerie Cosmetics, P. Louise, things like that. And then I have been buying also some foundations, mascara, and maybe 1 or 2 primers, something like that. I think that's mostly what I've been buying. Okay, let's go on to favorites and non-favorites. So favorite new purchase of mine, I have 2. I could not talk about either one of these. They're both eyeshadow palettes, and I really think that they're very different from each other, so I couldn't pick one over the other. But let's talk about this one. So this is from Gloss Gods, and it's Look for Rainbows palette. It's an all shimmer palette, and I have this currently in my Shop My Stash, and I have been doing a No Pan Left Behind on it. I have yet to do an update on that, but I will at the end of the month. And this one by far exceeds all of my expectations, my desires of what I want in a shimmer, like an eyeshadow, like a creamy metallic beautiful eyeshadow. These are all stunning shades. It looks so beautiful on the lids. They're creamy as well, and honestly my favorite look that I did this month was with these 2 shades here, which is the blue look, and it's not like, I wouldn't say it's the most professional look, obviously not, because I do it, but I just loved how these look in the sun, how they glimmer and shine. And yeah, I just think this is a really beautiful palette. I still have not used all of the palettes that I bought from Gloss Gods, but I have used 3. I've used 3 out of the 5 that I have. I have actually decluttered one of them though, so that would be in another video. But yeah, I've used 3 out of 5, so there's only 2 that I need to still try, but this one by far exceeds all of the others in terms of just my pleasure using it. I just think it definitely has to be one of my favorite items that I have purchased this year. And then the second one that I have purchased is another eyeshadow palette, and is the Killer Pearl from Menagerie Cosmetics. I bought this one, and I also bought, what's it called? Oh gosh, I can't remember anymore. I can't remember anymore, I'll put it on screen. But I bought both of them at the same time, and straight away I was just gravitated towards this one more so than the other one. I just thought the color story was more interesting and versatile, and honestly these shades are so beautiful. The formula is so good, and I do think that in terms of a complete eyeshadow palette, this has it all. Like, it has the gorgeous metallic shimmers, and it has the beautiful buttery like matte shades. I think this is just stunning, and kind of a reason why I didn't just pick this one, because this is all shimmers, and this is shimmers and mattes. They're completely different though. This is so light and airy and glittery, and you know, the shades are just kind of stunning. They look like water on the lids, but like, you know, just a beautiful shine on the lids, whereas these are like impactful, like in your face, and rich with color and deep. And I just thought these 2 together, in terms of quality, formula, how they make me feel, they are definitely my all-time favorite purchases this year that I have accumulated in the last 6 months. So yeah, these 2 definitely would answer that question. And then my least favorite new item that I purchased has to go to this one. This is the Essence Give Me Glow highlighter. There's not much to say about this. It kind of just doesn't do anything. It's so basic and so bland. I'm definitely going to end up decluttering it at some point. It's such a shame. I mean, it's not expensive or anything, but when I buy a highlighter, normally they don't disappoint me as much as this one has. And it's not even the price. It's just like, you know, why? It's just another item in my collection that's rubbish, and so it's just no good, and highly disappointed, and you know, don't buy it. And then my favorite new brand that I have tried this year has to go to Gloss Gods. I really do think that I am a new fan of theirs, especially like how this has made me feel, but also the new Neutrals palette as well, which sadly I actually have given it to my mother, and I do think I might end up going to rebuy it, because I really do like that palette. But when she came to visit, I kind of showed her the palette, and she really liked it too, and she took it. So that's fine, fair enough. She also took another palette of mine, but not from Gloss Gods. But yeah, I think that palette has been just so beautiful. This one's so beautiful. The other 2 that I've yet to try are stunning, and I'm sure I'm going to feel the same way. But I just think as a brand, they're really really accessible to me as well. I really enjoy the experience of buying from them. I have no hassles, and yeah, I kind of like that brand. So that's kind of like my favorite new brand that I've tried this year. And then to wrap up this video, I thought it'd be fun to just put some makeup looks of like my favorite makeup looks that I've done so far this year. Now, as I said, I don't do professional makeup or anything like that. I don't do those huge, dramatic, gorgeous eyes that a lot of people do. But I just thought I could do like a little collage of like all my favorite makeup looks, and then we'll just wrap up the video. That is my mid-year wrap-up in terms of makeup. Obviously, I would love for everybody to do this. Go ahead and steal my prompts, make it your own. Tag me if you do the same video. I would love to see all of your statistics if you can, if you've been tracking it. I just think it's a lot of fun, and also obviously the nerd and sort of geeky side of me is like, ooh, numbers, I love that. I don't know what it is, but I do like to track things like this, and it's interesting. What does it tell me? I'm not entirely sure. I have to see what happens next year, but I thought let's just start doing this. Let's do a mid-year where am I in terms of makeup, and yeah, hopefully I can get my makeup inventory done soon. I really am putting it off because I kind of just want to do my organization and then do it, or all at the same time. But you know, those are like hefty videos. Like it doesn't even, it's not like they're hard videos to make. They just take a long time because you have to film everything, you have to like take pictures of everything, and I have to be honest, I've just been feeling lazy. I just want to be outside in the sun. I do not want to be inside taking pictures of my makeup right now. So hopefully I can get that done for you at some point. I might just have to do it at night, and then, you know, because I don't usually film at night anymore because the lighting is so bad. And I really have not enjoyed artificial lighting recently. I really enjoy getting the light from my window. It's really bright and beautiful, and I just think everything looks better in natural light. So when I might have to just do it at night, and you'll have to just bear with me. It probably won't look very good. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I will see you all next time in my next video. Bye!